Welcome to Life's Hidden Curriculum, a podcast designed for Philadelphia teens and young adults that helps connect them to resources and information needed for adulthood. My name is Quan King, and I'm your host and curator of this content intended to get you the info and understanding necessary to make informed and smart decisions. You can find even more information on the website, lifeshiddencurriculum.com. And now, today's episode. I want to take a moment really quick and let you know that the content you're about to hear has been generated by Andrew and Izzy, AI. As such, it's always important to make sure you verify information that you get from any source, no matter how legit it sounds. I've listed all my resources and references in the archive on the website at lifeshiddencurriculum.com, so you can do your own due diligence, aka research. If you like any of these topics and want me to go into greater detail, hit me up in the comment section or send a message on the website using the contact link. All good? All right, here we go.
Welcome to the deep dive. So when you think about your credit score, most of us, we think about it as a measure of personal responsibility, right?
That's the idea we're all sold.
Today, we're really going to challenge that. We're diving into the American credit system itself, looking at it less as a simple risk assessment tool and more as this, powerful architecture of social stratification.
Exactly. And the mission for this deep dive is to trace how the system was structured, often very intentionally, to kind of preserve the economic status quo.
Reinforcing those gaps we still see today.
Right. And it starts so early. One of the sources pointed to this fascinating nugget about colonial credit. At first, it was all based on personal reputation, book credit.
Face to face.
Yeah. But then in the 19th century, banks institutionalize it, and they immediately create this two-tiered system. They focused almost solely on the established commercial elites.
So if you were upwardly mobile, but not already there.
You were pretty much cut off from affordable capital. The bias was there from the start.
Okay, so that's the informal bias. But where do we see the federal government step in and really formalize this preference for the wealthy?
The big moment is right after the Civil War. It's a fascinating policy choice. The war caused massive inflation, but in 1869, Congress passes the Public Credit Act.
And what did that do?
It guaranteed that the bondholders, the wealthy creditor class who funded the war, would be repaid in gold.
In gold. So it shielded their capital completely from all that inflation.
It explicitly protected their wealth. It embedded this principle right at the highest federal level, that the system is there to protect established capital.
Wow. Okay, so that sets the precedent. But the mechanisms for excluding people, especially when we talk about the racial wealth gap, they get even more explicit.
Oh, absolutely. This is where redlining comes in.
And this wasn't just some unfortunate market trend.
No, this was deliberate federal policy starting in 1934. The Federal Housing Administration, the FHA, used policies that essentially required mortgages to be issued in exclusively white neighborhoods.
How do they enforce that?
They used maps from the Homeowners Loan Corporation, the HOLC maps. And those maps literally designated non-white areas as hazardous for investment.
Hazardous. And the consequence of that label was just catastrophic.
It was a systematic denial of the single biggest engine for building generational wealth in America: home equity.
So you're not just blocked from a loan, you're blocked from accumulating wealth.
Precisely. And it forced entire communities into what the research calls a dual credit market. If you're shut out of banks, you're pushed toward
Payday lenders, check cashers.
extractive services. Instead of getting capital to build wealth, you get services that pull wealth out of your community.
Okay, let's connect this history to right now. In 1989, we get FICO scores. We move to this algorithmic number. Did that solve the problem? Or did it just, digitize the old biases?
It mostly digitized them. The system moved from a local reputation-based thing to a universal number, but that number inherited all the structural disadvantages we've been talking about.
Is there data on that?
The data is striking. The mean credit score gap between white and black individuals is somewhere between 90 and 100 points.
100 points, that's massive.
And it persists through adulthood. From age 30 to 60, that gap is there. And a gap that large means the majority of black individuals are often classified as subprime.
Which means everything is more expensive for them.
Yep.
But does the score just reflect adult income or how you manage money now.
That's the critical point. The research finds that credit status is largely an inheritance. It's strongly linked to what they call the causal effect of childhood exposure to place.
So where you grew up.
Exactly. Growing up in a county that was historically disadvantaged by these very policies, that is a powerful predictor of your credit score decades later. The score is measuring structural advantage, not just your actions as an adult.
It's just this tragic feedback loop. And it leads to this incredible paradox. Something like 72% of Americans think the credit system is unfair.
Yet over half of them, 53%, depend on credit for basic necessities, food, medicine.
So when credit becomes a tool for survival, it's not a tool for mobility anymore. It's an engine for debt.
And this is the core dilemma. The system is, in a way, working accurately. It's predicting the outcomes of systemic inequality. This creates what policymakers call the calibration versus balance dilemma.
Meaning,
if you try to make the score perfectly statistically accurate calibration, you risk making social stratification even worse because you're just reinforcing the penalty for being from a disadvantaged place.
so true reform isn't just about tweaking the algorithm. It has to target the fundamental wealth gaps that history created.
Precisely. And that leads to a final, maybe provocative thought for you to take away. Given that we know your credit score is such an accurate measure of inherited place and opportunity, what does it mean when employers increasingly use that very score to decide whether or not you get a job?
Thanks for listening to another episode on Life's Hidden Curriculum podcast. Please don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube as we're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. If you like this content and want to support, head over to the website, lifeshiddencurriculum.com, and click donate. Also, I'm always looking for guests to share their stories, especially if it can help the next generation. Hit me up using the contact link. Thanks again, and stay tuned for more.